Welcome back everybody to another episode of Direct Comparison. Today I wanted to look at the original Resident Evil 2 that released way back in 1998 and compare it to the recently revealed Resident Evil 2 Remake. Now I'd love to sit here and pick apart all the graphical changes that have been made over the course of 20 years, but since that would take way too long to talk about, and considering the footage I'm using here for the remake isn't the clearest quality since it comes from various sources online, I think it would be better to talk more about the gameplay changes made to the survival horror classic. But before we break it all down, let me briefly summarize the biggest changes that you'll likely notice right off the bat. First off, in the 1998 version, the game's camera system is fixed, meaning the player is forced to view each scene from a specific angle. Running off of the screen changes the camera to a different angle, which helps focus the action on what the developer wants the player to see. The new game has a full third-person camera, like Resident Evil 4. Because of this change in the camera system, the gunplay has also seen a major change. In the original game, you had to hold an aim button and shoot in the general direction of enemies. In the new game, you'll need to manually aim your weapon and are given the opportunity to target the enemy's head, which will likely save a lot of ammo. Just like the original game, the zombies will take a ton of bullets to kill. The original game allowed you to slowly chip away at the zombies' bodies, breaking off limbs as you plugged away, but the new game has a much deeper, more advanced gore system with multiple layers to each limb, allowing for some brutal violence. In the original 1998 version of the game, the backgrounds were all static images, which at the time allowed the developers to make much more detailed environments that simply weren't possible with the old hardware. Now the developers aren't as limited as before. Capcom has a fully rendered game world with dynamic lighting, actual object population, and far more realistic looking environments. Cutscenes are greatly enhanced with actual motion capture performances and better voice acting, and the story has also been improved to be on par with more modern video games. So overall, the graphical quality has been improved tenfold, and I can't wait to break it down more when we get the full release in January. But for now, let's look at the changes to the level design based on the E3 2018 gameplay demo. The demo begins after the opening segment where the player is forced to navigate through the streets of zombies and opens with Leon's arrival at the police station. Right away, we can see that the reception desk that previously was located in the back of the room has now been relocated in front of the statue in the center. Both the computer and the typewriter are roughly in the same place. But now, the storage chest that previously was in a nearby room has been moved here as well. The inventory system has been reworked and looks more like the inventory in Resident Evil 7, which I think is a much cleaner system. The computer, which previously only displayed the status of the lobby doors, now has a full CCTV network that can be viewed through a cutscene. The statue in the center now features 3 slots instead of 1, meaning this puzzle, and likely many others, have been expanded upon. The 2 doors that are locked by the keycard have been changed slightly. Instead of needing to use a keycard to open this large door, you now need a combat knife so you can cut the tape and release the lock. This knife is given to the player by default in the 1998 version of the game, but in the remake needs to be acquired from Marvin. Marvin has had a huge overhaul. Previously, Marvin can be found in a room off of the main lobby, just sitting against some shells bleeding out. But now, Marvin saves Leon from a zombie attack, and we're given a more meaningful introduction to him. The police station has seen a ton of changes to its layout. The main lobby now has a staircase, giving the player immediate access to the upper balconies. The station itself is significantly darker, forcing the player to navigate down the hallways with a flashlight. The zombies spawn at different times, which should help to keep veteran players on their toes. For example, the long hallway that previously featured a ton of zombies in the original game will now be completely empty until you acquire a key item and need to head back. The maintenance hallway with the boarded up windows look mostly the same, but the zombies from outside now can climb into the windows. Also, it is now raining outside, which really helps to add to the horror atmosphere. The window where we get our first look at the infamous liquor enemy is still there, but oddly enough, the liquor never appears like it does in the original game. It's unclear if this was done for the demo, or if the developers were purposely teasing their fans, but I wouldn't put it past them considering their fake out with the dogs jumping through the windows in the Resident Evil 1 remake. Anyway, those are just a few of the major changes that I noticed with the Resident Evil 2 remake. I cannot wait to get my hands on the full game when it releases in January. Make sure to like and subscribe for all the latest on the upcoming remake, and more videos like this posted every week.